What's up, everybody? It is Wes Dunbar, and I am joined by
your boy R. Nizzle
and Savannah Colbert.
And this week we've got a special guest on the line with us. Robbie, go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
I'm Robbie, that they mentioned in last week's episode.
Robbie is our good friend and sort of our local Tennessee football expert. Me and Savannah, we are fans, but
we kind of hate them too.
Yeah, Robbie is sort of our resident UT fanatic, and I think he's just as pissed off as we are, and probably more so. So we're going to get Robbie in on this and let him pick some games with us, and then afterwards we'll talk about some UT football. Does that sound pretty good, Robs?
Sounds good to me.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started.
All right, for the first game, we have Ryan's team, number 4 TCU, at number 25 Iowa State. Who you got, Ryan?
Well, last week I said it feels like 38. It still feels like 38. All right, it's chilly in Ames or Ames, Iowa. We're about to dog the Cyclones. All right. So we're gonna win by 38 this week.
Listen,
okay.
Upset alert.
Oh.
Iowa State's gonna f up TCU. Beat that out. I'm sorry. But anyways, TCU always messes up on some BS game that they shouldn't mess up on. They didn't do it against Kansas, so it's going to happen against Iowa State.
You know what? Last week I picked TCU to trip over their you-know-whats. So this week I am going to say that they don't. I'm going to go with, it feels like 38. I'm going to go with TCU winning.
Who you got, Robbie?
I think I'm going to have to agree with Savannah on this one.
Ooh.
I think the Cyclones are going to sweep them away.
Not so fast.
Yeah.
Screw you, frogs.
Somebody's just going to wear a shirt with the cover of that movie Twister on it for the headgear.
That's pretty.
So, all right, next up, we've got Oklahoma State, number 11, at 22, West Virginia. Ryan, who you got?
Well, considering TCU beat Oklahoma State by a small margin and we beat West Virginia by a small margin, I'm going that this is going to be a tie. It's going to end in nobody winning. But I hope Oklahoma State wins because they're higher ranked. We need that resume.
Yep. Savannah, who you got?
I'm probably just going to go with Oklahoma State. I hadn't really kept up with West Virginia. I don't know what they have going on if they can pull off an upset against Oklahoma State.
Yeah. Well, that's my thing too. I haven't really kept up with Pac-12 football at all, or not Pac-12, but Big 12 football at all this year. Yeah, just disgrace. I haven't really kept up with the Big 12 at all this year, so I think I'm just going to go with West Virginia and kind of hope for the upset here. Robbie?
I think the former Florida quarterback gets it done and upsets Oklahoma State. And
all
because
right.
I really want TCU to look bad.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, okay.
Roasted. All right. Up next, we have number 3 Georgia at Florida. And surprisingly, Georgia is only a 14-point favorite. I would expect the number 3 team to be favored more than that.
So let's mix it up. Rob's, since we're kind of like we're all better sort of versed on SEC football. What's your thoughts on Georgia, Florida, man?
I think it's going to be a lot more than 14 points.
Yeah.
I think Georgia wins by at least 3 scores.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
Florida is almost as big of a dumpster fire as Tennessee at this point.
yeah,
Georgia's really good.
It seems like Kirby Smart definitely has his team playing well, but it's never underestimate someone's ability to trip over their own. You know what? So, Ryan.
And it's a rivalry game.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Ryan, who you got?
Well, they're playing this in Jacksonville, and what is it? The world's largest cocktail party. Kirby's gonna be out there pre-gaming. He ain't gonna show up to the actual game. And McElwain, I mean, he might be out there laying naked with the fish. They're upsetting Georgia. It's happening.
Georgia's gonna trip over their own cocktail.
I saw the Florida players saying we're winning this game,
Ooh.
so I think they're doing it.
Yeah.
Obviously, anytime someone says we want Bama, it works out good. These guys are saying we want Georgia, and it's going to work out good. So,
well, I think it'll definitely help Florida that they're at home because I've heard that that's a pretty cool environment. But Georgia's really good this year, and I think that they'll have a good chance of making a run against Alabama. So I'm still going to pick Georgia, even though Florida has that home field advantage.
Oh, so you got a Chubb for Georgia. That's shitty.
I mean, Georgia also has a Chubb,
They
but
have
it's
a
one of their
Chubb.
players, yeah. I mean, yeah, at this point, it really looks like Georgia is really set to play Bama in the championship, and it's basically winner goes to the playoffs. I mean, that kind of seems like how it is right now. So, we'll go ahead and...
You know, you can tell how good a coach is going to be by how well they do in year 2. I think Kirby Smart's a perfect example of that, because they were like 7-6 last year, I think.
Yeah.
And they're what, like 7-0 now, and the number 3 team in the country.
Yeah, they've. I know a lot of people like, and we'll get into this later, but some of the reasoning for firing Butch Jones has been basically that we had a window where Florida was down, Georgia was down, and that was sort of our chance to at least go to Atlanta and play for the SEC title, and we sort of just kind of choked it away during their off years. So, I mean, is that kind of how you feel?
Idiot.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that in a second. Next up, we've got number 14, NC State, at number 9, Notre Dame. So, what do you think?
I'd say this is an easy one for Notre Dame, even though they're close in ranking.
Not so fast. I mean, yeah, go ahead. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, I just think that Notre Dame's actually pretty good this year.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't really expecting them to be. I didn't watch the preseason on them or anything, keep up with who they were recruiting, but I wasn't expecting them to be this good. So, I think they'll win it.
Ryan, what do you think?
Look, Notre Dame, they only lost that number 3 Georgia team that we was just talking about by 1.
Yeah.
And I think they also have a Chubb, so maybe this time it's going to be revenge of the... Like, they're going to come back and say, look, that Chubb embarrassed us, so we're going to beat up Bradley Chubb, the North Carolina State player. I play for the Wolfpack in hockey, but the Wolfpack's going down in football this week.
So, I will probably... I don't have too many thoughts on this game. It does look like Notre Dame is the better team. So, as an honorary Catholic, I think I have to pick Notre Dame, basically. So, Robbie, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I think Notre Dame wins fairly easily. I don't think North Carolina State's that good. I mean, who have they played to be number 14?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, it is.
They're 6-1.
Yeah,
and Notre Dame's only a 7.5 point favorite.
Yeah,
but still,
I wish I don't.
And they lost to South Carolina.
That's true. I think
North Carolina State did.
Yeah, they lost the first game of the season to South Carolina. And then they beat Louisville by 14, which isn't saying much. They beat Florida State at Florida State by 6, and Syracuse by 8. So the rest of it doesn't look terrible.
So good now, though.
So what? The Florida
State win doesn't look that good, though.
No, it really doesn't.
Hasn't been the same since James left.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move this along. Number is that 2 or
2?
Wow,
yeah,
really?
number 2 Penn State.
Yeah.
They've got an impressive resume right now, but they're playing at number 6 Ohio State.
Robbie, what are your thoughts? Penn State at Ohio State.
Big game, biggest game of the week.
Before I pick, I want to call Ryan out because last week on the podcast he said that Saquon Barkley was a beast. And, like, the days leading up to this, he was telling me how he was overrated and he wasn't that good.
Look,
exposed.
Well, I got you the views up.
Oh, God.
I think Penn State beats them. Like, James Franklin's a really good coach, and I think they get it done. That team looks really good.
Robbie, I've seen some, speculation that Tennessee might angle for James Franklin. What do you think about that?
I would love it.
I mean, yeah, I think he's familiar with the conference, and he's proven he's a good coach and he can perform at a big time university. I think it makes sense. So
he snuck into my top 5 because in year 2 at Vanderbilt he won 9 games.
Right.
At Vanderbilt.
And was one of those wins the University of Tennessee?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Damn it, yeah. But hey, hold on to that thought because we'll get your top 5 coaches after we pick them.
But I got in this game. I like James Franklin, but this is gonna be a comedy act, and I think he's gonna be looking like Key and Peele because they're about to get destroyed, and the only happiness they're gonna have is when they get back to Penn State University and Happy Valley.
Listen,
Ohio State by 23 because they're wearing them LeBrons.
Oh, good Lord.
Sidebar, TCU's quarterback, Kenny Hill, he looks exactly like the guy from Key and Peele. Just like, look up a picture of him. He may not with his helmet off, but with his helmet on, he looks
James
just
Franklin
like
looks
him.
exactly like Key.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to cite your source.
I don't know which one's Key and which one's Peele, if we're being real.
Key's the tall one and Peele's the shorter one.
No.
Anyway,
so
watch your Comedy Central, kids.
yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go with Ohio State on this one, just because I like what they're doing. They got a lot of talent,
and Urban Meyer's a legend.
and I mean, it does kind of seem like, and this could be just my interpretation, but it seems like Penn State is sort of reliant upon Barkley to have a good game.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if he doesn't have a good game, if Urban Meyer can find a way to shut down Barkley, then, it's going to be hard for them to generate points. And against Ohio State, you have to generate points.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna also have to, as much as I hate to, I'm gonna have to go with Ohio State. They're actually picked to win this game, but they have a serious home field advantage, and they're also an impressive team. They have some impressive wins, so I don't say that they will mess this up.
We'll see. I think, like you said...
Unfortunately, I don't like Ohio State, so I would love it if they did mess it up.
Well, like you said, this is definitely... It's number 2 and number 6, so it's definitely going to be probably the biggest... Well, definitely the biggest game of the week. Definitely the one that draws in the most views. So, transitioning to...
I've got one more game.
Oh, what'd you say, Robbie? You kind of cut out.
That game could decide the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, it almost has to, because those seem like the two big dogs in that conference right now. So, I mean, this is really...
Ohio State and Michigan play later on, but I don't think Ohio State's going to have that much trouble with Michigan this year.
Yeah, I was going to say, Michigan is kind of having what seems like it's turning out to be a down year.
And both teams are undefeated in the Big Ten, looking at it, because
Michigan
Ohio State and Penn State, because Ohio State lost to Oklahoma, Big 12 representative.
Yeah.
But even though I do hate Baker Mayfield, as longtime listeners may know, but
I hope that, on a side note, I do hope that like planting your team's flag in the middle of the field becomes a thing.
That's hard.
I thought it was badass. Everybody hated that, but I thought it was kind of hard.
That's hard.
I thought it was even harder.
Iowa State trolled them, and they did it at Oklahoma.
Yeah, I thought that was hard.
Look, it's got to be horrible if you're the losing team, but if you're the team that does it, that's like planting a flag on Iwo Jima. Like that's the hardest shit you could probably do. So, no offense to any Japanese listeners we might have. So we're gonna move on to our last pick.
Not so fast.
I'm picking Japan, guys.
We have the USC versus Arizona State. We can't skip a USC game.
Yeah.
Even if they're playing Arizona State.
Dude,
The Sun Devils.
So, Robbie, I mean, we know you listen, so as you probably are aware, we try to do one USC game every week, just so we can make sex jokes about...
Even if they're not playing, we still have to make sex jokes.
about the Trojans. So,
look,
just bear with us.
I'm going to start it out. The Trojans, they're just trying to get forks this week. I'm taking the pitchfork of Arizona State.
Are you seriously taking Arizona State in this game?
Wow.
Well, the past few years, I think they've only won I think they're 1-2 in the past 3 years. So against Arizona State. So I am taking the Sun Devils.
Why? I don't know why.
Look, sometimes Trojans bust, and they proved that against Washington State and against Notre Dame last week.
Well,
Yeah,
hey.
but Arizona State lost to Texas Tech.
Yeah, Big 12 representative.
And to Stanford.
Dude, you saw that tree? That's distracting.
I was about to say, can we talk about Stanford's mascot for just a second?
It is disturbing.
It is.
It's nightmare fuel.
Ryan informed me that there's a mode on NCAA 14 where you can play as your whole team is the mascots.
Yes.
So I played as the trees just so I could see, like, how do they hold the ball because they don't have arms.
No, it's one of those things that is seemingly innocuous, but will straight up give you nightmares. Like if you look at it. I mean,
when it zooms in on its face, it has top teeth and its bottom lip is literally just like this red line.
Mm-hmm.
It has these giant eyes.
Yeah,
Stares
have the
into your
ball
soul.
into his mouth.
Yes, literally, it like goes into its mouth when you play with them.
Hey, and speaking of things going into people's mouths, the Sun. This is gonna be really forced and contrived, but the Sun Devils, the Arizona State, their mascot is Sparky the Sun Devil. So we'll see if there's a spark between the Trojans and the Devils.
Oh, I wonder how many people are feeling horny in this game.
So we'll see if there is a total of 69 points scored.
Guys, can you imagine if the Horned Frogs played the Trojans?
Yep.
That'd be the dream. The dream.
Sponsored by Trojan Condoms.
Alright, let's segue into Game of the Week.
Yep. Tennessee at Kentucky. A cool stat that I looked up just before we were started recording. Tennessee has beaten Kentucky 31 of the last 32 times that they have met. And as Robbie pointed out, we think that was like the last year in the Dooley regime. Is that correct, Robbie?
Yeah, 2011.
Yeah, so go ahead and talk about that a little bit, Robbie. Go ahead and talk about Tennessee in that game.
Kentucky didn't even have a healthy quarterback on their roster for that game. Like, they started a wide receiver at quarterback and beat us. Like, I don't think it was like that bad, but the game really wasn't ever in question.
Yeah.
It's still embarrassing to lose to Kentucky.
I remember sitting there watching it like, we're really about to get beat by a team playing a receiver at quarterback.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of an issue we have with just randos coming off the bench. Because, Robbie, I mean, like, this happens against Florida all the time. Some rando...
Yeah, like, I remember one year, I think Jeff Driscoll was the starting quarterback.
Yes.
And, like, he was really good when he first started at Florida. He gets hurt, and then, like, was it Trayon Harris? Is that who it was that came off the bench?
I believe so, yeah.
And, like, we lost 10-9.
Yeah.
But, like, we were winning 9-0 with like 2 minutes left in the game.
Oh yeah.
He comes in and just lights our defense up 2 straight drives and they win.
Yeah,
that
I mean,
was Munchamps last year
Tennessee
at Florida.
That is the most Tennessee way to lose, I think. So, I guess segueing into this game against Kentucky, Robs, go ahead and go down kind of like what it looks like and like kind of like what we should expect in this game.
Well, we haven't scored a touchdown offensively since the second quarter of the UMass game. It's been like 14 quarters or something like that.
Yeah.
I saw that.
And our best player just got arrested last night, so he's not playing.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't expect us to score too many points this week either.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, our entire offense in John Kelly got arrested.
I've got one question for you guys. Which is worse, Butch Jones or our offense getting screwed by the weed?
Hey, one more reason that weed should be legalized. If weed was legal, we would have a running back this week, people. Come on.
I've got a better question.
Yeah, I agree.
Do y'all think that Butch Jones planted this weed on John Kelly so that he can blame the loss on it and maybe not get fired?
Ah. Hey, look.
Conspiracy theory.
Yeah, hey, in a week.
Fired after this week.
Yeah, in a week where, look, Trump, he's releasing the JFK files. Maybe in like 50 years we'll learn that Butch Jones, he planted that shit.
On the other JFK.
No.
John effing Kelly.
It works, folks. It works. That's all I'm saying. So Robbie, what's your prediction for the game? Go ahead and make your pick, man.
Well, I think the last time I checked, Kentucky was like a 5.5 point favorite. I'd say they win by like 17.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're gonna win by a lot.
I mean,
like if we score a touchdown, I will be very surprised.
Yeah, and I mean, you really have to think like if this Tennessee team right now, as demoralized as they are, if they get down, how much fight do they really have in them? You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to consider that.
I think the game will be close in the first half because if you look, even the Bama game, our defense has played fairly well in the first half.
Yeah.
And then, the Bama game, it ended up being like 21-0 at halftime. But every other game, we play teams close, and then the second half, they just get they're so tired. They're on the field the entire second half. I think was it the South Carolina game going into the last drive? We had 14 plays in the second half.
Yeah,
that's it.
So I guess how much of that do you chalk up to just being tired, or is it inexperience? Is it bad coaching? Is it a mix of all of them? What's the deal?
I think it's got to be on Butch because he doesn't rotate players in on the defensive line very often.
Right.
And there's no excuse for it because if you look at our roster, there's not a single player on our defensive line that was lower than a 4-star recruit coming out of high school.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say. It's not like he couldn't if he wanted to, or if he if he even, I guess, realized that he could. But I don't know, maybe
that's getting too smart for him now.
Yeah. So
this makes too much sense.
So you said that Kentucky by a couple scores. Ryan, what do you think?
All right, this is going to be a boat racing in one direction. And that boat race is going to end at the checkerboards. Oof. The blue and white checkerboards of University of Kentucky.
Oh.
Lexington. I don't even know if that's near Churchill Downs, but that horse race, y'all are going to be running out and ending Butch Jones' career.
God, I hope so.
Yeah. It almost seems like sort of defeatist, or it seems wrong to cheer against Tennessee so that they'll get a better coach. It's kind of the same debate where, do you throw the season in professional sports to get the number one pick?
Yes.
I guess it's a philosophical kind of question, but
the thing is, if Butch stays, will we have a losing season? Do we want that? Or we could get an interim coach in that maybe could do something different so that we at least go 5-7 or 6-6, which I'm honestly not even sure that we'll do 5-7 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a guy on our staff that, he was the head coach at Michigan, so why not just let him finish the season?
Oh yeah, Brady Hoke.
Yeah,
I forgot about him.
Yeah. I did forget about him.
So, and this is another consideration if you're the athletic director of Tennessee. Rob's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that a Tennessee team has ever lost or has ever won fewer than 5 games in a season. I don't think Tennessee has ever had a lower than a 5-win season.
I'm pretty sure we've never lost more than 7 in a season.
Right.
Ever. So
that's the thing. It's
I'm pretty sure we've won less than 5 in a year before, but we didn't play 12 games, obviously.
Yeah.
But, we've never had more than 7 losses in a season, and if they don't fire Butch, that I don't know if we win a game the rest of the season, to be honest with you. I don't know if we can beat Southern Miss.
Because you look at, like you said, Rob's Southern Miss. You look at the rest of our schedule. There aren't too many other games where you could conceivably see us pull out a win very easily.
I think there was one. I don't even remember who we played the rest of the season.
Southern Miss might be.
Southern Miss was the one that I thought that maybe.
But even Southern Miss, if you're already defeated, and know that you realistically are probably not going to make a bowl game.
Yeah, will the players see the point in trying hard against them, or are they just going to half-ass it?
Yeah, it's sort of. I don't know. This is going to be. It has to be Butch Jones's last year. Even if he rallies the team and wins every game from now on, I still don't know if that's enough to save his job. Or I should say, I don't know if that should be enough to save his job.
So
you know what I'm saying?
We play Southern Miss and Missouri. Those are the only 2 I think we can win. Because other than that, it's Kentucky, LSU, and Vandy.
I don't know that we could beat Missouri. To be honest with you,
well, Missouri's 2-5, which I don't know.
But they played close down.
Missouri's bad,
but they kind of looked okay at a couple times.
They blew out Idaho. Good Lord, 68-21.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can score points.
They cannot defend anything.
But Georgia blew them out. Kentucky blew them, or they didn't blow them out, but they beat them. Auburn blew them out. Purdue blew them out. Surely to God we can beat
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Well, Jeff Brown, he's a coach that UT fans should be looking at because he's actually really impressive at Purdue.
So,
to Rutgers Saturday.
So what? They lost
to Rutgers Saturday.
Oh my! I didn't even know that.
Oh wow!
But never mind. Take them off the list.
Cancel that.
So hold on. So who has everybody picked the Tennessee game? I don't think. Ryan, did you? Okay.
Yeah, I think we're unanimous.
So yeah, I don't see us winning. I hope we do, but I don't think we will.
I want y'all to win just so Butch Jones keeps the job and we can keep these debates going.
Hell no.
Right.
Ryan, I'll fight you.
So I guess since we're done with the picks, I guess we can go into our broader discussion about Tennessee football in general. Robbie, do you want to go ahead and give us sort of your top 5 or so coaches that you think could potentially or should potentially replace Butch Jones?
Or any opening comments that you want to make about it.
Yeah, anything in general.
I mean, obviously, I think number 1 is Gruden.
I feel like he's a fan favorite.
I don't think he'll take the job. But, he said before that Tennessee was his dream job. So, I mean, you got to call the man. He won a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay.
Right.
So, I mean, you got to call him. And then number 2 would be Chip Kelly.
Yeah.
I mean, if we got him, I think he would hire Mark Helfrich as offensive coordinator. And obviously, those two together can develop quarterbacks because, I mean, look how good Mariota was under them.
Yeah, and you would have Helfrich, who's a guy who lost but went to a national championship, which is more than Tennessee can say for the past
twice
19 years or
twice.
whatever. So, go ahead.
3, everybody throws around Bob Stoops' name. I don't know why he got brought up. I mean, if that was a possibility, he would be 3. But I don't feel like that's realistic at all.
Right.
4 would be James Franklin, and then 5 would be Bobby Petrino.
Ooh, that last one's a little bit controversial. So I mean,
but the way I look at it is Petrino would die. He would do anything to coach in the SEC again.
Yeah.
So if we can't get one of those first 4 guys, Petrino without a doubt would take the job, I think.
Yeah, and I think that your list kind of highlights this. I can't name any really hot up and coming coordinators that are just really outstanding in the mold. We've had the last couple of years, several really good offensive and defensive coordinators who have went on to coach pretty big time jobs. There really isn't that this year. It doesn't seem like.
And go ahead.
I hate the tools that are Peyton Manning should come coach. Why would he ruin his legacy at Tennessee?
Yeah.
That's pointless because everybody worships the ground he walks on. If he comes in and has a bad season, they'll be like,
that's all gone.
Fire Peyton Manning. We hate him.
And you also have to look at the fact that don't get me wrong, Peyton Manning was essentially an offensive coordinator on the field, while he was at the Broncos, but he still never coached a single game. Mm-hmm. So, I feel like that should be taken into account. And my only gripe with Gruden would be that, some people have stated this probably more articulately than I can, but basically there are people who are really good at being a pro coach, and there are people who are really good at being a college coach, and it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of people who can do both successfully. Now, Gruden could be that rare breed, but I just don't know that I would want to pay a guy several $1 million on the off chance that he is. You see what I'm saying?
It's really different.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about that, Robbie?
I feel like if we hired Gruden, we should pay him Nick Saban money. But,
hot take.
But the thing is with that, Nick Saban doesn't have a buyout.
He doesn't?
No. If he gets fired, he gets 0 money.
Well, I guess when you're getting paid $11 million a year, then you can afford it to get fired.
Does he get paid $11 million a year?
Yes.
As we talked
I looked it up.
As we talked about on an earlier episode, he doesn't get fired. He chooses when he wants to leave. So he doesn't need a buyout because if they say, hey, you're fired, he'll just say, no, I'm not.
I mean, he is Alabama football at this point.
Like, yeah, he's like the personification of like the entire football.
Hashtag the
team.
process.
I feel like if he wore a hat, that it would be more iconic than what's it called, the bear tooth, or the Bear Bryant style hat? Houndstooth.
Houndstooth, yeah.
I feel like it'd be more iconic than that at this point.
So, my ex-boyfriend he was an Alabama fan, and he wore like one of those hats to his senior prom.
Trash.
It was garbage. But he was garbage, so it's understandable.
I mean, the whole Nick Saban versus Bear Bryant argument, I think that could be a debate topic all its own, and we might have that discussion another time. But
so maybe next week we can debate.
But I don't know. I just, to me, kind of like I alluded to, I don't really have anybody that off the top of my head that I know that I would replace Butch Jones with. But Robbie, I think you're right in saying that Brady Hoke kind of makes sense as an interim coach at this point.
And even if he had a chance, as an interim coach to like see what he's like, without making a commitment.
Right.
What would it take, or is there any chance that Butch Jones could revive his career at UT for you, Robbie?
Zero chance.
Okay, let's just say hypothetically, he wins out the rest of the season. UT doesn't fire him. Next season, he goes undefeated, wins the national championship. You still want to fire him?
I mean, I guess not in that case. But...
So you don't always want to fire him? So what I'm hearing is you lied to us.
I'm trying to get the hot takes from you.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. Like, if you have an arm that's rotting off, I mean, and somebody's like, okay, I can cut it off right now and you'll live. Or maybe on the way to the hospital, somebody will gift you like $1 million and your arm won't fall off. Then do you cut it off? And you're like, well, I mean, no, not in that case, obviously, but
that's besides the point.
I just feel like it's better to cut and run, That's just
I saw something that after the Georgia game, Curry told him that if you can go 8-4, your job is safe. But I mean, like, we're 3-4 now, and there's no chance he wins out.
Hey, never say never.
Yeah.
Jay Beaver told me that.
Right.
I'm ashamed of myself.
And like, I think Wes would probably disagree with me on this, but like, if it came down to it and we couldn't get any big name coaches like that we talked about earlier, instead of hiring somebody like Jeff Brom or Scott Frost, like, I would much rather just bring back old Kiffin.
You would bring back Lane Kiffin?
If I had to pick between like somebody that's at a little school and that's like not really proven, and my other option was Lane Kiffin, yes, I'm taking Lane Kiffin.
Speaking of Lane Kiffin, did y'all see where he was trying to recruit Lamar Jackson to FAU today?
Yes.
That's bold. I think that's what UT needs, honestly.
You know what? Actually, Robbie, I don't know that I hate that idea. Actually, I mean,
okay, like him and his dad has even told people in Knoxville, like a reporter I saw like a couple weeks ago, like it was from years ago that he said it, but Monty Kiffin basically told him that he thinks that the biggest mistake that him and Lane made was leaving Knoxville. And I think like if Lane Kiffin would have just like taken a day to think about it when USC called him, he probably wouldn't have left, because look at the shape that program was in. Like,
right.
Like I read something, they lost like 30 something scholarships over 2 years.
Yeah,
like, that's a lot.
Yeah,
and any player could transfer with no penalty.
And Robbie, I think it was you that told me about this interview with probably the greatest journalist of our time, our savior, Clay Travis.
Look, I know you hate Clay Travis.
We all hate Clay Travis.
Yeah,
it's a universal theme here.
There's no love lost.
I respect him.
See, I like Clay Travis, but like, okay, he said, like,
he is the
it's hard
biggest
to
tool on
disagree with
Twitter.
this. He said, "I'm tired of Tennessee hiring these needle dick coaches. I want Tennessee to hire a helicopter dick coach that just comes out on his press conference and just whips it out on the podium and then doesn't say anything and just walks out.
Yeah. Well, there's the thing about Lane Kiffin is that there's definitely like an attitude that you get with Lane Kiffin that you don't get with Butch Jones. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, thank God too.
Every interview with Butch Jones is like, it's basically like, well, we did really good and we put forth a lot of effort and I'm proud of our guys. We always want to improve and all this type of thing. With Lane Kiffin, there would be none of that. It would be like,
did you hear Butch Jones' bullshit after the South Carolina game?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I feel like we did everything in that game to win, except for score touchdowns. Well, but that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
We're supposed to score points.
Okay, look. Okay, yeah. I crashed into 38 different cars while I was on the interstate. I feel like I did everything right except kill 20 people and ram into 30 cars, okay? Give me a break. Give me a break.
That's extreme.
So, yeah, I mean, I have to think Butch is gone after this year, and really, I think it's for the best, and I hopefully, like you said, Robbie, I hope we get somebody that kind of has like a little bit of chutzpah, as it were, and that isn't afraid to be bold. So,
like, I mean, think about if they did bring back Kiffin, which it'll never happen, but like you pay him what he's making at FAU now, which is like $2 million a year or something like that to start out.
Yeah.
But like, you don't give him a buyout if you fire him. And, like, there's more, like, there's clauses in there where if he leaves, like, he's going to, like, owe the university or money or something. Like, I was reading there's things that they can do like that.
Right.
That way, like, hey, we're not doing this again.
Yeah. We don't play that.
What about old Charlie Strong making a re-entry of the Power 5?
Ooh.
How would you feel about that?
Well, I don't know. Like, I don't feel like he was given that great of a shot at Texas. He was only there, like, what, 2 years? Like, 2 full seasons?
Yeah, it was either 2 or 3, but you could see that he, like, even though they were not winning, he was changing the culture, which I think is more than you could say about Butch Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Butch definitely, like, he got us turned around from the Dooley years. But, like, is Big better than Derek Dooley, what you want to hang your hat on?
Yeah, and that was like one of my criticisms about Butch Jones, even like a year and a half ago when I like wrote that article or whatever. Like, yes, you know, we know that Butch Jones can recruit good talent, great talent in some cases, and even, you know, recruit with the best of them. But when it comes to developing player talent and even just simple stuff like picking your starting quarterback or picking, you know, who your starter is going to be, he doesn't make the best decisions. He doesn't develop players as good as other coaches.
He just doesn't do anything with the talent he gets, and he gets a lot of talent.
Obviously, a top 10 recruiting class means a 6-6 team. I don't know what y'all are thinking, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the... Go ahead, Robs.
I mean, just think, like, the talent that we have now. Think if we had, like, Chip Kelly or Bobby Petrino or somebody like that. Or James Franklin. Imagine if we had James Franklin. That man won 9 games at Vanderbilt.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of it's sort of similar to the Les Miles phenomenon, where you know you have these unbelievable athletes, but he just can't develop a quarterback. It's kind of like that, except we have unbelievable athletes, 5 stars. We're loaded with 4 stars. It's just that once they get here, we can't do shit with them, you know. And I don't know why that is.
Like coaches like Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
After that interview of his first race, he's just standing there going, I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah. Hey, Robbie.
Yeah.
Do you remember that meme that was circulating on Vol Twitter a couple years ago? And it was like Butch, and he said, like, I don't know what to do with all these stars. That was literally true. Like, he literally didn't.
Like, yeah, he has no idea what to do with those stars. Like,
I didn't know how like deep that meme was actually going to go.
Yeah, I didn't realize how true that actually was, but it turns out that was some hardcore foreshadowing.
I thought it was so.
Jones talk makes me just want to blow my brains out.
Well, it was sort of reassuring at first because you're like, okay, this is a guy who truly is like process driven, because so is Nick Saban. But at the end of the day, you realize that's all he had. He didn't have anything above just, we have a process that we stick to. And I think his inability to get outside that process and to try to break his mold and to try to, just take chances on players is sort of one of the things that has led us to this sort of stagnant point.
Well, because of this, now y'all don't have to say it feels like 98 anymore, because y'all won a championship last year in 16. The champions of life. So
yeah.
I guess now you have to pull out y'all's winter sweaters and say it feels like 16 at least.
And we got those 5-star hearts too.
Yeah. He knows what to do with those stars.
Yeah. So I think we're basically done on this one. Robbie, we're gonna give you kind of the last word on this one. Kind of just get everything out of your system, man.
I hate him.
Bold.
So, Robbie, we want to thank you for coming on. You've been an awesome guest.
And we'll have you back on here if he ever does get fired.
Yeah. If we find out Butch Jones has been fired, you are at the top of the guest list, my friend.
All right. Definitely. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Robbie, thank you. And I think we're going to take a little break real quick, and then we'll get right back to the podcast, all right?
Yeah.
And we're back. That was our interview with Robbie Woodard. He's our good friend and Tennessee football fan. You can find him on Twitter at Robbie Woodard 34. That's at ROBBIEWOODARD 34.
But
if you message him, spell it ROBBY, please.
And his username is Fire Butch Jones.
Yeah.
So if you see that,
he's dedicated.
You know he's dedicated.
We're actually starting a vicious online targeting campaign against Robbie, where we don't actually make any threats against him. All we do is just inbox him his name spelled incorrectly. So
yes.
ROBBY. Make sure you put the Y. Okay, so moving on. We've got a couple of Ryan just went ahead and partook in our online targeting campaign. So our next couple topics are sort of just some random stuff we've kind of thrown together since the interview portion ran so long. I think we're going to start off with what has really kind of snowballed into a really big news story, especially around Murfreesboro.
Mm-hmm.
There is, I think officially it's a White Lives Matter rally, but basically it's a...
There's going to be some white supremacist groups and Nazi type of groups coming into Murfreesboro this Saturday, which is, weird because stuff like that doesn't happen in Murfreesboro. People just get shot up here. There's not normally white supremacist rallies.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I think that this is worth. I think this is worth discussing. What? I guess what's your philosophy on this type of thing? How do you feel? I guess how do you feel you should best combat this? Because I think there are basically two schools of thought. One is the stop Nazis from organizing, because they don't have anything valuable to add. You're not going to convince a Nazi that he's wrong. Mm-hmm. And then there's also the camp that says, no, let them come out. Free speech applies to everyone as long as it's not directed and it's not a call to violent action. Let them get up there, make an ass out of themselves, and then give your side and show how wrong they are. So, I guess where do you guys fall on that sort of spectrum? How do you feel?
I would say, with any of these rallies, the best way to combat them is to just ignore it. If they didn't get any media attention, if people didn't come out and do an anti-protest, would they continue to do it, or would they just be okay, this is pointless. Why are we doing this?
I'm kind of conflicted, because on the one hand, I do understand that as a Nazi, if you're open about being a fascist in America, you're coming out and saying straight up, I think we should commit genocide, or we should at very least have a white ethno-state or whatever. You are automatically declaring that you are a violent, non-free speech participator. So, and on a visceral level, I think it's just, it's entertaining to watch Nazis get punched. I can't tell you how many times I've watched that Vine of Richard Spencer get punched, and just like I mean that's fun to watch. It just is. But at the same time, I think that the more pragmatic crowd kind of has a point when they say like, if you punch a Nazi, so to speak, does it get you any closer to your goals and what you want? You know what I'm saying?
I think if your goal is to go to jail for assault, then yes.
Punch a Nazi.
Because, I mean, my viewpoint is, obviously, I don't like what they have to say, but they do have the right to say it, and I'm with Savannah. I don't think that as many people would say it if there wasn't the media attention.
They would just keep their racist views at their house, and they would, yell at their TV and stuff. But
it's kind of the same thing that got Trump elected, is the fact that the people that felt suppressed were finally getting the media attention. As in, like, Trump, he was getting a ton of media attention. That obviously escalated to a ton of free ad time.
Yeah,
I honestly feel like that did help Trump. Was people that were borderline but are like, man, all these millennials out here like protesting Trump. That just makes me it makes me so mad at them.
He had a bunch of millennials vote for him.
Huh?
There was a bunch of like the millennial generation that voted for him.
Well, I mean, when you look at overwhelmingly, millennials did vote for Clinton, but there was a significant. You're right. There was a significant amount that voted for Trump. I think what you're talking about, Savannah, is honestly, I think that is partially, and we've kind of agreed on this. That's partially Hillary Clinton's fault because, who better could represent the elite or whatever in Washington? You could not imagine a more polar opposite for a working class person's ideal politician than Hillary Clinton. She is literally the embodiment of a political elite, and so a lot of working class people who voted for Obama, they don't relate to that, so they say, well, which of these people do I feel like is truly representing my interests? And it's not Clinton,
Mm-hmm.
So
I have a family member, and I'm not going to say who it is. It's not in my, I guess I wouldn't say in my immediate family, but she has always voted Democrat because typically they have small businesses in their best interest,
right.
And we have small businesses in my family.
Well, even just working class people too.
Yeah,
not just small businesses.
She actually voted for Trump this time, which kind of surprised me. Which I feel like she was influenced some by the people around her.
Yeah,
but it was unusual to see her vote Republican.
That's my feeling on sort of, that is my general, I guess, way to explain why Clinton lost, is to kind of say she didn't offer a vision for the working class. That's just how it is. Obama ran on hope and change and a real vision for the middle class in America. That's how he won these people that went on to vote for Trump. And Trump talked about their anxieties. Their job got shipped to China or Mexico or whatever. And an outgrowth of that has been, and I'm not saying these two things are connected, but an outgrowth of Trump using a mix of actual working class grievances, like talking about TPP and things like that, as well as appealing to racist sentiment. Not that the two are related, but the latter thing definitely has led to a rise in these kind of events with white supremacists, just as a result of the fact that Trump is now president. There's a certain validation that those kind of groups feel. And I think the best way, I agree with you guys, I think the best way to combat that is to just let them show how idiotic they really are. Don't give them excess media attention. Don't hype it up to be something more than it's worth. Don't turn it into an Antifa versus Nazis story. And, kind of let it burn out on its own in a way.
I just wish that Trump would kind of condemn it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because should he condemn Antifa? Yes. But also he should condemn the Nazis. I understand condemning all protesters, but the way that he goes about it isn't the right way, because if it's the protests in which it was where it's destructive to tons of people, that shouldn't be going on. But that starts with the source that started it, aka Nazis.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that it does show that, and it's also something that a lot of people might not see, but it shows just how big of a voice that like Trump has in America, and like I think that he could put an end to it if he wanted to, but
yeah, and it's, I mean, how hard is it to just come out and say unequivocally like Nazis are bad? I don't want Nazis supporting me, you know. And I feel like you're right. Trump could have put the kibosh on that within 2 seconds. You know, just say, I don't want, if you're a Nazi, I don't mess with you. Like, yeah. So
because it does seem to go against his patriotic view that he supports. Like, I know that we joke about like support the troops and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but you would think that he would want like the non-Nazis. You know what I mean? Like,
well, as someone who had a great grandparent that fought in World War II, mm-hmm. all 8 of his brothers fought in World War II against fascists. Yeah, it has to be concerning if you're a World War II vet or the child of a World War II vet or the grandchild or great-grandchild, that the President of the United States can't just be like, yeah, Nazis are bad and I don't want them to support me.
And honestly, if he could do something to combat it, if the goal that he wants is to win in 2020, because I know he's already doing rallies.
Oh, yeah.
If he could actually combat it and end it, I would almost guarantee you that some of his other policies, he could probably win some people over. Like, do I think he's a little bit extreme? Yes, but I think that if he could end this, that it would make a lot more people open to his views. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like, you know, he could theoretically be one of the best examples of a reach across the aisle president. Like, because during the campaign, he would come out and say things that other Republicans wouldn't say. Like, look, our infrastructure is horrible. That's one of the things I think government should do is spend money on infrastructure. He could do things like that, you know, tax the wealthy, things like that, with Democrats. They would vote for that. So theoretically, he could have come out and been very successful. But, like, I just think the fact that he's a dementia-riddled old man, to just be blunt about it, I think that prevents him from doing things that are smart politically. And, I mean, at the end of the day, we just have to reckon with the fact that he's just not that smart in general. So,
dude, what's an Ivy League school?
I went to an Ivy League school. I am so smart. Yeah, I am very intelligent.
Yeah, I think money can buy you a lot of things that otherwise wouldn't.
But I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
I really want to see him succeed, just because. Why would you? Like, we're all living in this country together, so there's no reason I hope that he fails. So I want to see him navigate his way through this. Like,
but you have to. Well, I hear that, but to an extent, like, you have to ask yourself, what would a Republican or Donald Trump policy victory mean for the rest of the country? If Donald Trump got...
I'm just saying through, like, this divide that is going on, like the race divide, as we're talking about with this.
I see what you're saying.
I want to see him navigate through this crisis, because it's better for us, it's better for, like, economy. I know that's a big thing for him, but, like, it's just better all around if... It's better military-wise that we all have support in one thing. I mean, you saw that in Vietnam. We lost that. Yes, maybe we were in a bad position, but we also lost it because the support was not behind it. So,
yeah, I think, like, yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, you definitely. I wish Trump could just come out and be a normal president, but like I said, at the end of the day, he's not really a normal person to start with. So
he's definitely a polarizing figure. It's kind of like John Cena. I hate to make the wrestling, but he's been in wrestling before. You either like him or you don't. But at the end of the day, he's the man that runs the stands.
I guess that's it.
Or the face that runs the place.
So, Savannah, you got anything?
To get back to, like, our original topic, Saturday is when they're supposed to do the rally. It's also supposed to be 50 degrees and rainy on Saturday, so you think that will affect them?
I hope it rains on the Nazis. I really do.
Is that the Lord condemning them?
This is a sign from God.
Yeah. I mean, regardless, if anybody in Murfreesboro or anybody listening to this is thinking about going, like, obviously be careful. If something crazy starts happening, just run away. Don't try to be like a hero or anything. But yeah, I mean, I will probably be going because, like I said in the interview, or I think it was before the interview actually. But either way, to cover a story for the journalism class that me and Ryan take, and I mean, I really hope that everybody can keep it peaceful, keep it not from flaring up and heaven forbid turn into another Charlottesville, because I know my fat ass will not be running away from a car. I just don't have that kind of stamina. So, but
stand beside buildings and
in
alleys.
Just make sure your getaways are cleared.
What if somebody comes through all the apartment complexes and they're just breaking in and just destroying things just because they're mad?
Dude, I hope my boy Raven's cool. That's all I'm saying.
Raven will pop their butts.
Yeah. I don't know.
I feel weird saying butts now. I just didn't want to say
we've reached our quota on cuss words this podcast, so
he's gonna pop their butts
behinds. My girlfriend told me I sounded too much like a ruffian. I had to calm it down. I think I said 2 F words on the last podcast. So.
And I only bleeped 1.
Yeah, I know.
We missed 1, so we apologize.
Hey, it doesn't count because it wasn't F-U-C-K. It was F-U-C-C.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Should I bleep out the spelling?
Oh. No.
Because it was hoomst.
Hoomst the F-U-C-C.
Mm-hmm.
Eat a $sign.
Yeah.
So. Well, it's actually it's not a bad word if you spell it like that.
Well, I was told that my future employer wouldn't appreciate this, and I'm like, man, if my future employer goes through my podcast,
if they listen to all our podcasts, they'll be a dedicated fan.
Yeah, I was about to say, because nobody else is at this moment.
Hit us with the follow if you're an employer.
If you're listening to this 5 years from now and you're my employer,
let's say I'm also going to teach young children, so I try to avoid.
Show it to the kids.
I really don't think that employers will look.
It's mainly a sports podcast.
Because I'll say this: I've done a Google search for my name, looking for my Wix website, Ryan, that we had to set up.
Dude, it's off the radar.
I know, I can't find myself. I went 5 pages deep and still couldn't find myself. So I'm not really that worried about it. I don't think an employer is going to spend more than 2 minutes.
Really, in this day and age, they just they may Google your name, but they're really just going to go to your Facebook and see what kind of person you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, guys,
so that was our tangent for the week.
Yeah. Anything else that we want to talk about?
I don't think I have anything.
When I Google my name, it also has my old Twitter account from when I was 12 or 13.
That's the best.
And it's Buggalugga13 if you want to follow that. I'm not telling you how to spell it.
I'm sure you probably sent some cringy tweets.
It is so.
But it probably isn't anything that would keep you from being employed.
Oh no,
it's just
my bio on here, 14-year young freshman. I have the best friends anyone could ask for.
Oh, that's cringy.
My last tweet was in 2012, in January of 2012. Deleting my Twitter, ... It's not what it used to be.
That's still holds true today. So, guys, do we have any closing statements? Anything else you want to add?
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to say that if you've listened this far, first off, you're a dedicated fan.
Yeah.
And if Robbie sent you, well, shout out to you, Robbie. But I was also going to say...
update of my puking. 3, 4,
We're going through
5.
Savannah's old Twitter right now.
It's
bad.
But I was going to say that if you made it this far, shoot us a suggestion at our Twitter and tell us what maybe you want to hear us go on a segment about, because we're always open to making y'all happy.
I mean, even if you want to be on the podcast, we may bring you in for a section, so just hit us up.
When we get big, don't take it for granted. You can always put this on your resume.
Let's say you have to do it while we're small. Once we're making millions, we ain't effing with you. Basically,
once we blow up, if you make less than $500,000 a year, I'm sorry, you're just
unless you're on it when we were small.
Yeah,
we don't mess with you.
Yeah. So
and Clay Travis, sorry, bud, you might never be on this. Boy.
I don't know if Clay Travis was willing to do it. I think that would be a good show. Just for us to actually talk to him.
So on our list of people that we want, would it be
I'm not saying I don't want him to be on. I really do, because I think that would be a fun debate.
But on our list of people that we want at the top,
yeah,
would you have D'Amica or would you have Clay Travis?
D'Amica for sure.
I need D'Amica. And maybe, I bet if we got D'Amica, we could get Nicki Minaj.
Oh, yeah. If we got D'Amica and... Oh, yeah. I think we should...
Oh, that would be hot.
But we sent D'Amica a friend request. Or, no, not but like a DM or something. And she never responded. Because
really?
that account got suspended, remember?
Yeah.
We need to do an update on that next episode.
Definitely.
But Savannah, shout out our Twitter.
Yeah, go ahead.
So our Twitter is PodBois _podcast. PodBois _podcast.
And also, I do a podcast as well. I'm going to go ahead and shout that out. It's History of Everything Pod. I am on Apple Podcasts, so if you've got an iPhone, just go to your podcast app and search for History of Everything Pod. It's kind of my solo project. I'm pretty proud of it. I put a lot of work into it, and it's a little slim on its listens, but it's only 3 episodes in, so hopefully I can get a couple listens.
And we're like them Twitter famous people. Follow us on podcasts.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, do subscribe, but...
Yeah.
Follow us on, first off, Spreaker.
And
SoundCloud. And just look us up under PodBoi. But
PodBois.
we don't assume gender, so everyone is BOIs to us.
Everyone is boys.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is boys. Anything can be a boy.
We're PodWood.
As long as you stand for the flag.
PodBoi.
We're with you.
Guys, good episode. We'll see you next week. PodBois. Ow!
Ow!